Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I want to try something a little different. My last video was much more personal. I was talking about things like moving back to San Francisco and all things kind of revolving around my experience growing up. And I really like making that, but I also want to explore what else this channel can be. So today we're going to do something way more chill. I'm going to be doing some art, chatting through what I'm doing, and honestly just seeing how this format feels. We'll be going from start to finish in this piece, so feel free to grab your own project, pour yourself a drink, get comfortable. This video is going to be very casual, very experimental, so enjoy. Like any good art project, it starts on Pinterest for me. I started scrolling through Pinterest to try to find a art reference image in oil pastel that felt around my level. I quickly realized that I kind of wanted to follow a video instead so that I could make sure I was replicating the same exact steps to control all of the variables so that I can get an accurate understanding of how the background color changes the image. So I ended up picking a video by Monet Cafe, and she does these basically follow along videos where you follow along and you're able to create a beautiful image in hopefully the same likeness of the ones that she does. Obviously, she's a lot more experienced than I am, so, it doesn't exactly look like what hers looks like. So before we get right into this video, I wanted to talk a little bit about why I'm doing this art video in the first place. So I just don't really consider myself to be an art person. I have been art curious, honestly, but I just haven't really gotten into it. And for some reason, oil pastels had been showing up on my feed for a really long time, and I decided to buy a box of them, and ever since then I had just kind of kept returning to them and enjoying the medium. Before this point I was doing watercolors, but the setup was too high friction for me. I just setting up the table with the water and the waiting for the paint to dry, and it just ended up being too much friction for me, so I kind of didn't do as much art as I wanted to, or when I felt the desire to do watercolors, it would have to be stronger than my desire to just not set up. I know, yeah. Anyway, so the oil pastels kind of meant, no prep. And that was something that was really motivating for me and helped me be more free and experimental with my art. And ultimately, that low barrier is what kept me coming back long enough to actually get decent at it and to continue to improve. In today's video, I'll be doing a color study. A color study is when you do the same image multiple times and just change one variable. Today, I'll be changing the background. I'll be using different colors for the background, and I want to see how using different colors for the background creates a different tone or a vibe to the image, depending on what color it is. Here, I'm not trying to make a finished piece, I'm just trying to learn something on purpose. My question going in is, how does the color of the background change the feeling of the piece? So in today's video, I'll be using the colors red, purple, baby blue, and pink as the background. And I have already picked out the main sets of colors that I'll be using, and I put them in the box so you can see kind of them all lined up together, kind of the color story of the image. I start out this piece by putting down all of the background colors. I try to be a little bit more loose in the wrist when I'm doing this. Typically I can be kind of heavy-handed, but one thing I realized with the oil pastels is that this is the first layer, and progressively the oil pastel builds upon each other, so as you build the layers, you lose grit in the paper, and so then the oil pastel kind of ends up sliding around, especially if the base layer is too heavy. So I'm just working in circular motions, trying to lightly lay down the background. Once I'm done laying down the background, I start blending with my fingers, and I'm just trying to get one kind of generally even color across the paper. I quickly kind of learn here that I shouldn't be using my fingers because it just becomes kind of a mess, and so instead I end up using a paper towel to sort of blend in everything. So the first panel that I do is the most direct copy of the video in Monet Cafe, and she uses a red-orange background. So that's what I do here. And I just start filling it in the way that she instructs you to do. I put down the outlines of the flowers, the outlines of the trees in the background, the mountains. I'm pulling the purple shades from the sky, and just trying to really focus on creating value here. Now, my colors don't match perfectly to what she has, but I think it serves a good enough comparison to the colors that she has, and it was really useful, I think, to place down the color first and then just start adding detail to it afterwards. As I'm starting to add more detail, I'm realizing that I'm losing the value in the front. So I start adding more blue and green to create the value in the front. One thing I really like about this style of oil pastel is that it looks really, honestly, kind of messy and kind of hard to see the end product in the beginning, but as you continue adding detail, the picture kind of becomes itself, and I really appreciate that aspect of this kind of oil pastel work. Once I'm done with the red side, I move on to the purple, pink, and blue sides. And I try to just basically copy and replicate exactly what I did with the offsetting of some of the flower placements. And at this point, I was, I think, getting a little bit impatient. I had been sitting really heavily focusing on placements and colors and just feeling a little bit rushed myself. So I'm kind of adding in details in the areas that I think should have details in it and also matching where it exists on the other ones. But then I'm also starting to now wipe off my oil pastel because it's starting to pick up the background color and kind of contaminating each of the frames. And one of the things I immediately noticed is the mountains in the background look really cool on the purple and the pink, and on the blue it feels a little bit washed away, but I think that it looks fine nonetheless. Another technique that I've been kind of working on personally is using the length of the pastel to create the sky. For some reason I thought that creating a sky would involve doing these circular motions. Typically as you see clouds, right, like they're kind of round and lumpy, but using the side has actually, I think, created a more believable and accurate sky texture than I had initially expected. So that was a happy accident. adding in the grass, and I think that this is where the background kind of really makes more of a difference as opposed to the sort of similar shaded purples and light blues. So adding in the green was exciting because it kind of made the image feel like it was coming more together. I found that on the purple it felt like it looked a little bit muddier than it needed to look, but again, it's not the finished image. And at this point, I'm starting to blend everything together, trying to create a more cohesive image, adding in more highlights for the sky, and starting to add in my flowers in that lighter blue color and purple. I'm adding in the centers of the flowers in orange, and it really pops on the purple, which makes sense because they're more opposite on the color wheel than pink and blue. And I'm adding the yellow. It all looks really pretty. I think one of the things that I noticed was that the oil pastel started melting in my hand, and that kind of frustrated me because I'm applying pressure and it starts just sort of melting around my fingers and it gets really, really messy. So I'm kind of thinking maybe I should try soft pastels, but I think that one is still just as messy. But I really enjoyed the process of adding the colors one after another because it helped me get better at my application in those areas. For example, the trees in the background require some level of attention to detail because you're basically negative drawing trees. You're creating negative spaces to create the effect or look of trees. But in my original red background one, I felt like that one wasn't as clear. But on the pink and the blue, the background, the negative drawing is much more clear and tells me that I've gotten a little bit better just in this process, which is gratifying. Okay, so as we come to the end of this drawing, I'm just adding more details in, adding more green in, trying to make the petals a little bit more identifiable. And yeah, I mean, the piece is really coming together. One thing that I really walked away with was I really like the act of adding the details and it making the image more readable. I think my favorite panel is the blue one, actually. I think that it has this nice wintry glacial feel, but I do also really like the original red one. I think it's really effective at warming the image up. I guess my takeaway from this color study is that the background does actually really impact the feel of the image. However, maybe not all of the time. I think that the pink and the purple weren't as effective, maybe because they aren't primary colors or they just weren't strong enough tones. So that's something to note for the next piece that I do, but I'll definitely be using these background studies to develop my art even more. This is the end of the video, and I really hoped you enjoyed watching, or if you followed along with doing your own piece, I hope that your piece turned out great or you learned something at the very least. And yeah, I just want to thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.